you, Brian, for setting this up in terms of energy efficiency has been the conversation so far in whatever I've heard. I'm going to talk about the 3 Ps, or triple bottom line, from a vendor, a product perspective. And what I'm seeing as we have been on a journey for building a product for over a decade now, and how we have seen that evolve as the conversation shifted. The real question is the balance between these 3 a dream, or is it becoming real? And so from that perspective, the first thing is, a lot of people have spoken about how even though we're trying to do what's best in terms of people, planet, and profit, often decisions are made in capitalism around what it makes sense today. How do you save money today? How does it affect your balance sheets? And the first big trend that seems to be happening now is we are moving the conversation from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism. So there is, conversations around ESG metrics where in your balance sheets now you will see traditionally non-financial metrics starting to show up. It's not happening in healthcare yet, but we are starting to see trends of that in a lot of the corporate world. In fact, there is almost, at this point, 2.7 trillion worth of assets that are being managed by 2,900 ESG funds, and that's happened just in the last couple of years. So there is a lot of conversation towards the long-term value and what impact do our corporations, our businesses have on not only profit, but the environment and the society. And from a built environment perspective, the drivers or the trends that have really helped a business like ours, or what we are seeing in terms of mega trends, in terms of people, is the conversation around health and wellness. We had done a survey in commercial real estate offices and future of workplace environments back in 2018, before COVID started, that showed that 90% of people were willing to give up the gym and the free food in their offices, in the corporate office environment, for better indoor air quality, better light levels, better sound. And this was a survey of more than 1,600 people, and there was a trend we already started seeing. COVID has accelerated that. The awareness that people have around what their environment is doing to their health has really grown. The other trend that we are seeing is consumerism in terms of sustainable products. Retail is the industry that's seeing this the most at this point. In fact, a recent survey, which was released in May of this year, shows that Gen Zs are changing the trend over selection of sustainable products. They're putting sustainability in hyperdrive, so much so that they have been able to influence Gen X, their parents, and I've heard this in multiple conversations just over the last 2 days, how our kids are influencing our buying choices. 90% of people in this room and our decision making on products, 90% of us today are willing to pay 10% more on products that are sustainable, that are doing good for the environment, and brand loyalty is moving towards those. That's the framework that I'm hoping to apply to decision making in the built environment. And our product has been on, like I said, on the journey. We started with the conversation around the planet, which has been going on for quite some time now, in terms of energy efficiency. We all are, there are 70 plus countries that have signed up for this net zero mission of, by 2050, we have to get to net zero. And like Brian said, you have to lose weight before you buy the suit. You have to figure out where that energy is going. In the built environment, 40% of energy is consumed by buildings today. As compare that to the automotive industry, that's 20%. So we had 2x more energy consumption. We've already started seeing the shifts in the automotive industry. How many of you in the last 4 years have considered buying an electric vehicle? 20, 30% of this room. I live in California. I can tell you that number is 80%. Every neighbor I'm talking to is driving one or considering driving one. Those numbers are moving fast. And my family business is in automotive. 10 years ago, we were not even talking about it. Our conversation was, oh, this is something in the future. It's not going to happen. Well, the future is here. So in the built environment, hospitals are consuming 4x more energy per building as compared to corporate offices. This conversation is going to come up. It's not going to be something that's in the future for too long. And 20% of that is the skin of the building. This is where our product comes in, and I'll talk about that. This is where we started our journey as an energy efficiency product. How do you resolve that issue with the skin of the building? Well, one option is you can make concrete bunkers, and you will not need as much energy to run them. But that's not the trend. Your designs are all about more glass, more windows, more daylight, and that's because of the wellness benefits that have been studied in healthcare for over a decade. Actually, I think this was the first industry that started the trend of thinking about people wellness from the perspective of patients, but nevertheless, the trend started there. And today, the best solution you have is to block the heat and glare that comes from these windows, because when you have more windows, you're going to get a lot of heat that comes in. And there's glare, of course, that's the comfort aspect. But the energy consumption is going up, and you're blocking those windows with blinds to try and balance it out and designing your HVAC systems to balance it out. This is where our product came in. We started from a simple concept of let buildings be smart. Let buildings be connected, let them do what they're supposed to, which is give us a comfortable environment. And we do that by creating electrochromic windows. These are tintable windows that tint automatically throughout the day, depending on where the sun is with respect to your building. In doing so, we are blocking 91% of the heat from ever coming into the space. So your peak load requirements go down significantly. And that is the first conversation that I've had with most health systems that I've spoken to, energy efficiency. But that's the beginning of the framework of the conversation when we start looking at that ESG metrics framework, or what are we doing for the people and the planet. We're elevating the experience by providing the comfort. Let's look at it from the perspective of the materials we are displacing. When you look at putting blinds in your building, I'm talking about, again, now sustainable products. If you look at the chemicals that go in both manufacturing the blinds and as you use them in your space, you have stain repellents and flame retardants in most of the blinds that you're using. And these systems, we know leach out materials not only during installation, but through the life of the product. They're known carcinogens. They're not being completely monitored for, but now your ESG metrics, as they start to build up, are asking for the health impact on people. These things start getting monitored. What impact are they having on planet? How many times are you recycling them? We did a study in a corporate office, which has our product, and their original buildings had blinds in it. So we got permission to study the effect of these stain repellents and flame retardants in the space where you have blinds versus our product at the perimeter and the core. We took samples across from different locations and found, even after 7, 8 years of blinds being in that space, you still had effluents coming out of these materials. That's the life cycle cost analysis conversation that I tend to have with a lot of people in terms of think about what's going to happen to your building over the time of its use. The next conversation is even more nebulous in terms of its financial impact, but it is starting to play a big role in decision making as we are seeing it, and that's the impact on people. We all know that daylight is important for us. I'm going to try and break it down into the why of that is important and how what we have seen. We invested heavily in health studies with third-party universities and professors studying different aspects of the human behavior. The first one, and if there's one thing you all take away from today's talk, this would be it, is what I would say for your personal gain. Our eye is made up of a group of muscles, and those muscles focus our attention on the thing we are trying to do. So when you are sitting in front of a computer screen, you have a group of muscles that are focusing your eyes at an arm's length. Now, if you use the same muscle again and again and again, what happens? Sorry? Yes, if used correctly and we are building that muscle, but otherwise you do have pain if you're trying to build the same muscle every day, right? Or you could have some issues with it. In this case, this causes a problem called the computer eye syndrome, which is your eyes are focusing on the same thing, and if you don't look up often enough, you actually do damage your eyes. It causes headaches and eye strain. And this is, again, from the Association of Optometrists, not our research yet. But what it does is they have recommended that every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. So as you all are working every day on your computers, if this is one thing you can take away, do that every day. What we found is, the blinds that we've done this in office environments, we've studied this on people. Because you have blinds down, the natural instinct to look out for something dynamic is gone. And by replacing that and creating that vision to infinity, your natural fight or flight instinct makes you look out. So your natural body tendency is to do it every now and then, and we enable that. And we've seen in office environments, because of that behavior, eye strain and headaches reduced by 50%. The second part is about our behavior in terms of the body's hormonal functions, circadian rhythms. Most of you have probably heard about it. We need natural light to perform at our best. Human beings are outdoor beings. We have started spending 90% of our times indoors. And what that has done is it's basically played with a circadian clock. We don't know when it's day and when it's night when we are sitting inside. By allowing natural light to be in the space, you are tuning your body's rhythm to what it's supposed to do, what it was designed to do. We have seen in studies, this is 1 week worth of data in an environment where you're getting natural light. And you can put the same people now in an environment with blinds or walls, and the behavior will shift. So it's back and forth. It's an A-B comparison here. 30-minute more sleep, just because your circadian rhythm is tuned. I think this is another thing that COVID has really put awareness around. Your mental strength, your ability to do tasks, going out for walks, getting the right amount of sleep. There's just so much literature around that now. But that's the kind of stuff that we're seeing it has an effect on. And the third one, biophilia, which is the most studied in healthcare with evidence-based design, is our ability to de-stress when we are in an environment that feels like we are in nature. And that, we have seen that again in office environments in our studies. It did lead to reduction in depression and anxiety, even in people working in normal office spaces. The same studies, when applied to healthcare, we did simulated studies. We didn't actually, upstate medical team did simulated studies on nurse practitioners and physicians and saw a change in their cognitive abilities. We saw better patient satisfaction with people in environments where they had blinds. And most importantly, we saw a reduced risk of infection. This study was done at University of British Columbia, where they studied common bacterial infections in 3 different environments. With blinds, with our glass tint in its lightest tint and its darkest tint, and they looked at the growth of bacterial colonies as a function of time in these 3 environments. And what they found was, just because of the amount of natural light that's coming in through a product like ours, You're disinfecting your space. You all are aware of using UV light to disinfect spaces between patients. This is naturally happening. The bacterial colonies are not forming in the first place. So how do we look at profit in that framework? The value-added conversation is what we are doing for people and what we are doing for the environment, in addition to first profits, right? So that's where this is more about, as these metrics get involved in the shareholder conversations in boardrooms, your CFOs, your marketing teams are going to come asking for data that shows what are you doing with your built environment to benefit both the people and the planet. And that's where there is the possibility of shifting the conversation to the benefits you're providing in these environments. Thank you.